Hello, welcome. My name is Carola Weil. I'm the Dean of the School of Professional and Extended Studies here at American University. I'm delighted to welcome all of you here today to start us off and to start the celebration of this very special occasion, the 20th anniversary of the Washington Internship for Native Students. We have asked Mr. Dennis Zotai to come and give us an honor song to set the right tone for this day and evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Carola. You know, I've had a history with the WINS program, and I'm very happy to say that I've been a very good supporter. I've volunteered my time coming to teach workshops to the young people about culture, about history, about the Indian way of life. I've emceed several of the powwows, and my girls are with me from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and their mother participated in the WINS program. She was assigned to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and believe it or not, she worked on the language to a bill that was actually had gone to Congress, having to do with tribal police on reservations. And she uses this in her resume, that she was a WINS graduate at American University. And now she's a very successful professional. And I kind of like to think that a lot of it is owed to the American University and their program, that it has offered so many opportunities to American Indian and other students from many different nations, and it's a wonderful facility and a wonderful program. And so I'm glad to be a part of this 20th anniversary. At this time, I'd like to share with you a song from my home state of New Mexico. My grandmother was, when she was with us, taught me a song, and it was a very beautiful song that I like to open this program with. It is a Pueblo lullaby from the village of Okewenge, meaning the village of the strong people. So if you please stand at this time as I sing this opening honor song. Wataho. Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Please join me in thanking Dennis Zotai for kicking off our celebration in such a beautiful way. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome all of you today as we launch a series of events to commemorate the special program that the Washington Internship for Native Students has been for the past 20 years. 20 years. That's 20 years of excellence in education, in professional development, in network building, and in truly transformative experiences for our students, faculty, sponsors, and staff alike. Today, we gather here with current students, alumni, faculty, and staff, and friends of WINS to confirm the commitment of this community and university to the advancement of all citizens of the world, and especially our Native American, Alaskan, and Hawaiian Native and Pacific Islander sisters and brothers. I'd like to acknowledge in the audience today Provost Scott Bass, many of my fellow deans and vice presidents and friends of our program among the university community who have joined us today, as well as the sponsors of our students from federal agencies and other organizations that are here today, and distinguished alumni of the program, such as our good friend Phil Busey Jr., who both he and his wife are alumni of the program, so we're delighted to welcome him all the way from Oklahoma City today. And good friends such as National Indian Education Teacher of the Year and recognized as 2012's Indian Country's 40 Under 40, Vernon Miller. We cherish the legacy built by many who went before me, and I am most grateful to my colleagues here at American University, the past WINS Advisory Council, and the many federal agencies and organizations for their sponsorship and support of this program. This is the first of several events scheduled for this summer and fall to mark the 20th anniversary. Before introducing a man whose leadership has helped shape this program, please allow me to recognize some very special individuals. Our faculty, if you would please stand if you're in the room. Steve Davis, Heather Heckel, Michelle Sauve, and Peter Morris from the NCAI could not be here today, but is with us in spirit. I'd also like to thank our staff, Amy Morrell-Bijot, the former director of WINS, who I know I saw here earlier, she's there. Diana Love, who has helped make this event happen. Denise Pollock, a WINS alumna and volunteer for our program. Danelle Brosco, our Director of Extended Studies, and our two community assistants for the summer, Lucretia Lovato and Marcus Troy. Thank you all. And I'm especially delighted to welcome our newest staff member who hasn't even started yet. He will start next week, Troy Lewis, who will be the new director of this program, the assistant director of WINS, starting at the end of the month. Troy, if you'll please just stand, people will get a chance to meet you later. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today President Neil Kerwin, my boss. President Kerwin not only was present at the creation of WINS, but indeed has been central to the success of this program and university, whether as a student, an alumnus, a member of the faculty, as a dean, a provost, and since 2007, as our 14th president. There are few people more qualified to speak to the importance of diverse voices and perspectives in public policy and civil society than President Kerwin. As author of many influential articles and books on policymaking, rulemaking, and good governance. And so I am delighted to cede the podium to my boss, President Kerwin. Thank you.
Thank you, Carola. I'm delighted to see so many people here tonight to celebrate really a remarkable milestone in a remarkable program. This university is very, very proud to have played a part in the creation and the nurturing and now the maturation of the Washington Internship for Native students. Carola's right. I was Dean of the School of Public Affairs when this program began. I was provost when it moved to the Washington Semester Program, and I'm now president at a time when it's reaching a point in its development that I think everyone in this room can be very, very proud of. WINS is a statement about this university's commitment to diversity, both for this campus, but for the United States and for the world. We always felt at American that we had comparative advantages. And one of the things that we do better than we think anybody else in the country is to match traditional learning, academics, with direct experience. The young men and women who came to this program came with an aspiration to lead. And we felt in order for them to be fully prepared for that, they needed to experience leadership at the highest level and engage policy making at the highest level. That occurs here in this city. What's done here every day affects the peoples of this country and affects the peoples of the world. And as they say about New York, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, all right? And 2,000 students have made it here. 20 years, 2,000 students have experienced the WINS curriculum, the WINS faculty, the WINS staff, and experienced themselves in ways that they probably didn't realize that they could ever do on their own. We should celebrate a great deal tonight. The program and the idea that started it. But above all else, I would like to celebrate the young men and women who had the courage and the self-confidence and frankly, the sense of adventure to come very long distances for long periods of time to a different kind of place to test themselves in ways that they, I think, in the long run benefited from enormously. Now, I think that in celebrating an event like this, we should also thank the many, many partners who have helped make this happen. Government agencies have made opportunities available to students. NGOs and nonprofit institutions have helped support this program over the years. And among the most important partners we have had has been the White House. The president, this president and others has taken a direct interest in the WINS program, and they have provided support. As we all know, President Obama has spent time over these last several months touring and traveling through Indian country and talking about the challenges that part of our citizenry still confronts. He's made it a central point in his presidency to ensure that progress is made during his time in the White House, and we are proud to be part, perhaps a small one, of that progress. Representing the administration tonight, and it is our honor to welcome Bill Mendoza. Bill was appointed the Executive Director of the White House Initiative on American Indian and Alaska Native Education in December of 2011. Bill grew up on the Pine Ridge and Rosebud Sioux reservations in South Dakota, educated at Haskell, Sinte Gleska, and Oglala Lakota colleges. He holds a bachelor's degree from Fort Lewis College, a master's degree from Montana State University, and before he was called to public service, was pursuing a doctorate in educational leadership at MSU. We are thrilled that Bill has been able to take time from an enormously busy schedule to be with us tonight, provide some keynote address words for us, and for us to thank Bill and the administration for all the support they've provided over the years. Bill, the podium is yours.
Greet you all as relatives in the Lakota language. Extend my heartfelt handshake to you all. Protocol, particularly for relatives, and when addressing such an esteemed group formally, President Kerwin, thank you so much for that very kind introduction and for those inspiring words about the commitment of this institution and the many people that have just tremendously affected the lives of over 2,000 individuals, and I would even say that the collective impact of that alone is just not measurable. I will talk a little bit more about that, but please let us give a round of applause to President Kerwin, American University, and his staff here. Now, when you put that 2,000 into perspective, you know, and you're talking about 5.2 American Indian and Alaska Natives nationwide. A little more complicated when you narrow that to one race, that identification of AI, AN, you come up with about 4.9 million. And then you look at tribal members, some of the estimates ranging in the area of 1.9 million. And you look at the census aspect to this, and 37% of those individuals under the age of 18. We know very keenly that the future of Native America, as in many respects the future of America, rests squarely on the individuals that are here with us today and that have matriculated through this partnership with Indian country, a trust, if you will. Very much so, American Indian and Alaska Natives are thought of from the standpoint of American University in a trust fashion, with no more than the commitment of the leadership that have taken this step and made the partnerships that are needed to be in place to have us be here 20 years later. That work is purposeful. That work is strategic. And it takes really an all-hands-on-deck commitment. And it goes back to the courage and the perseverance of the young folks that are within this program. And so if we could take the time to acknowledge them, all the WINS folks that are here, both past and present, please stand up for a second and let us acknowledge you. Thank you so much for your courage. Thank you for your leadership. Just could not be more proud of the steps that you're taking. Please be seated. We all are, of course, here to celebrate you from the standpoint of all of your partners, to put you to work. We're going to get that from you because we know that at the end of this short time that we have you, you will have not only your worldview expanded, but you will have exposed a system that would not otherwise be able to experience what you bring to the conversation in more of a raw and untouched way. The challenges you are dealing with, whether you are so closely tied to your language, your history, and your culture, as well as the experiences that you have where you're alienated from all of that, and you're striving for understanding and trying to find your way back to that. Please share those stories with everybody that you interact with. I've been where you are, and in many respects, not but 3 years ago, was in your shoes. When I was entertaining the idea of joining President Obama's team, I couldn't even fathom what that meant. There was a young man, an Asian American, saw me speak at a conference. I was a graduate student, mind you, only 3 years ago, 2010. And I had even stumbled upon the speaking engagement on my own. I was there to provide a student perspective. Get a phone call from my co-presenter, and he said, I can't make it, I'm sick, you can do this, I'll send you the slide deck, you just have to get up there, you have to talk about the program. So I was like, okay, this is one of those big boy moments, you got my big boy shorts on, I got to step up, I got to deliver this speech. I knocked it out of the park, right? Like my uncle says, I've always had a knack for being a good BSer. And I really enjoyed myself. It was an opportunity to talk about something I was invested in. I knew a lot about it in the sense that I kept it through the student lens. I was immersed in it. I'd been a teacher, I'd been in front of students, but not in front of colleagues. Not in front of people who I assumed were going to ask me questions and respond back. And I knocked it out of the park. And a big part of that was it was a simultaneous experience of empowerment because I was able to then tell my own story and my own experience and reflect that and, to others. That was empowering. But then to get this really cool guy, he comes up, he had this flashy suit on, he flashes this big card, and he says, you know, I'm from the Department of Ed, I'm Secretary Duncan's senior policy advisor, and we're looking for someone to be the deputy director of our White House initiative on tribal colleges and universities, and really want you to, you know, consider it. And gave me the hard sell. He violated my Indian space, you know, he was at least a foot from me. I swear to God, he was at least a foot from me. And maybe even closer, you know. So it was tough. I was like, who is this guy? You know, I showed my wife the card. She was there with me at the time. Proceeded to just kind of entertain the idea. Ran into him the next day when he was checking out, and we made a connection. He knew my cousin. He knew. It's like, man, this is starting to mount up in the Indian way. You know some of my people, and we have some connections here. So I talked to my mentors about it. I said, there's this guy, he wants me to, you know, consider this job in DC. And I talked with them about it, and they listened, and I told them my apprehensions. I was like, I don't know if I could be effective there. I want to be on the ground. I want to work on the ground. I want to, you know, go through this experience and be a teacher, be a superintendent. You know, that's what I wanted. So they let me finish, and then in not so many words, they said, "Are you stupid?" They put into context over the course of the next, 15 minutes it took to convince me that this was an opportunity worth looking into. And over the next 6 months, I went through a process that is just not a clear path, political appointeeship. It was unpredictable. It worried me at every juncture of the way. I graduated in the meantime with my master's and had already signed up for doctorate level courses. My family was in married housing, and I had to commit to not be there the next semester. And I took some leaps of faith, really, in kind of the belief of a process that seemed completely foreign and completely unpredictable. And I got the call for an interview, and I was like, okay, it's going to be yet another phone interview with a smaller subset of some people that are asking me really probing questions about, my experiences and my beliefs and things like this. And they said, no, we actually want to fly you to DC. So I was like, okay, this is serious now. And so I come to DC. I do an interview with all of the people that I would later find out were critical to the work of the department, the undersecretary being one of them. And then I feel like I nailed that interview. Well, I didn't really. I just said what I knew I was trained to say and what I believed, kind of that synthesis of all of that. And then I walk out from Department of Education. It was at Department of Education. I walk out onto the National Mall, go in between the Space Museum, it's my first time to DC. I forgot that point. Never been anywhere east of the Missouri River. And so I go out in between Air and Space and NMAI. Didn't even get to go there that day. Walked out across that sidewalk. You all know the sidewalk. It's a big sidewalk. Everybody's running across. I had to wait and, navigate my way through there. Walked out past the trees, and I looked to my left, and I saw, of course, the Washington Monument. And I looked to my right. I saw this huge Capitol that I'd only ever seen on TV. And the first thing that came to my mind as an Oglala, as a warrior, of my people, both by weaponry in the form of pen and the willingness to go to fisticuffs if I have to for those issues, was an expletive. And I'll repeat it here, forgive me for the lack of sophistication, but I said, shit, they're never going to give back the Black Hills. And as an Oglala, that just, kind of affected me. But in that same simultaneous moment, I had just an invigorating sense of hope, an invigorating sense of conviction around what I can only chalk up to is that proverbial Indian moment where against all the odds, against all of the amazement, the awe of what Washington, D.C. was and what minuscule impact I could perceive at that moment was just obliterated by the legacy of advocacy, the legacy of power represented in all of those chiefs, all of those medicine women, all of the family that had come before me and that we're currently fighting within our communities. And so, that was how I departed from DC, and not but a few months later ended up in DC to do what I am currently involved in, which is to try to impact as much as I can the root of those issues and to be very outcome-centered in how our people are able to not only persevere, but to contribute in the most meaningful ways to everything, including humanity and beyond. And all of our Native folks in here know exactly what I'm talking about when we say that we have a vested interest, we have a lot to contribute around who we are, and that we think about the world in very complex terms, and we're trying our hardest to have the systems that we are dealing with reflect that. That takes a lot of understanding of a number of human worlds, this Western European civilized world especially, in order to understand how we can create that balance, whether it's Hojoni in the Dene language, Lako Wichoka in the Lakota language, or everything in between. Those balance, those ways, no matter how fractionated they are within all of us. And so as you take this plight, you partners that are in the room that create these conditions upon which all these young lives thrive, that is what is the reward at the instance that they step into your offices, into your halls, and that is what is the foundation to this work moving forward. Taking advantage of, leveraging, respecting, and utilizing the greatest diversity resource within our country is represented in the but few tribes that are with you on an annual basis. And per capita, that 2,000 is having an impact that you cannot put on the same measure of, how many people went through this program, how many dollars went into the program, and what is this costing us in quarter, measures. And so I just really thank you for this opportunity to talk about why this initiative is important to the President, why this initiative is important to us on an educational level, and want to encourage you all in your current support of this community, which is rather the exception than the norm. And because of these efforts, we're going to continue to build upon them. Not but 20 years ago, this effort fell into a 40-year movement called the Tribal College and University Movement. We've literally doubled graduation rates. We've doubled enrollment rates. And we don't know enough about what those direct correlations are, but we know that they curiously coincide with this notion of educational self-determination and self-governance. And these are the leaders that will take us into the next 40 years. Thank you, President Kerwin. Thank you, everybody in attendance, and so honored to be among you this evening.
I know that, thank you so much, Bill. I know that you're on a very tight schedule, but I know that many of the people in the audience would love to spend a little bit of time with you. And so rather than having more formal program, I'd like to invite you all to come and meet Mr. Mendoza, ask questions, ask those really critical questions, because we want to know what the White House really is doing to advance the cause of education in Indian country. And thank everyone for coming. We have refreshments and we have food that has been provided to us by the National Museum of American Indians, by Mitziam Cafe. So please indulge, imbibe, and enjoy the good fellowship. Thank you.